All right, so good morning, you guys. Yesterday, I did a video where I was talking about the coming of Christ being something that happens on an individual level versus something that happens to the world collectively. I said that, generation after generation has been waiting on the coming of Christ, but what really happens is that it happens on an individual level to those who are seeking to be a part of the kingdom. So I came across First Corinthians 22 through 25, and it kind of just reestablished or reinforced what I said in yesterday's video. So 22, let's start there. So, for as in Adam all die, even so in Christ all shall be made alive, but each one in his own order, but each one in his own order, but each one in his own order. Christ, the first fruits, afterwards, those who are Christ's at his coming. Then comes the end, when he delivers the kingdom to God the Father, when he puts an end to all rule and all authority and power. For he must reign till he has put all enemies under his feet, right? So, what I've learned in my spiritual journey, okay, so developing your relationship with Christ and then Christ bringing whatever you're going through to the Father so that the Father can make whatever you're going through, like like whatever you're going through, is like when they say enemy, it doesn't necessarily mean a person, right? It can be a person, but the enemy is not necessarily a person. The enemy could be something that is going on internally within your mind and your heart that is causing you to feel like that you are under attack, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a person. Sometimes it is a motherfucking person. But excuse me, I'm still growing. But listen, sometimes the enemy is just like something that you're thinking, like a negative thought process, right? Let's just say you have a negative thought process about your finances or about relationships or about people or about the world. You know, once you give that to Christ and he brings it to God, it becomes something that you no longer have to suffer with, right? It becomes something that no longer can defeat you, right? So once you give it to God, truly, full heartedly, full mindedly, full spiritly, then He will put that worry, that concern under your feet, right? And so this did lead me to Psalms 110 and verse 1, where it says, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand till I make your enemies your footstool. All right, so again, I know we've all heard this verse, right? Till I make your enemies your footstool. And egotistically, we do want the people who hurt us, right? We do want them to be our enemies and our footstools. And in some situations, God will absolutely, well, I'm not gonna say absolutely. I'm gonna say in some cases, like that will happen, but not necessarily in the way that our ego wants it to happen, right? It will happen because our spirit will be so in tune with what God has going on for us and what God is doing in us through Jesus Christ that it's like you're not even gonna worry about your enemies, right? When you're worrying about anything, it's happening on the upper spectrum of your body. When you're worrying, it's happening in your mind, it's happening in your heart, it's happening in this upper part of your body. But once you start to, you know, get rid of those worries, get rid of those fears, get rid of those doubts, get rid of that lack, then it becomes something that shifts down to the bottom, it becomes un it becomes something that you're pretty much unaware of, right? And you could walk over it. And I feel like that walk over it and walk through it is what this is really meaning. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I would love, give me a feast in the presence of my enemies. Like, that is like a lot of people think of it